All right, Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. This is very serious regarding the 12 tribes of Israel. And when it comes to Deuteronomy 28, this is really the identity of the Israelites. Deuteronomy chapter 28. This makes up the whole Bible, the blessings and the curses. What we're going through today, in these times, the conditions that we're undergoing, are all based on Deuteronomy chapter 28. The blessings and the curses. It's never stopped. Okay, the Most High has etched it in the earth and in the heavens until our judgment has been set to be released, which is now. Slowly, we're being released. Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all by Hashem, HaMashiach, Yahushai, giving thanks to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, by Hashem, HaMashiach, Yahushai. He's worthy to be praised for everything, the Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Through HaMashiach, Yahushai, we have remissions of sins to get back to the Father. Hallelujah. Now let's get started. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28. I hope everyone can hear me well. We're going to go into the book of Galatians first. Like I always say, Galatians is a book that Christians don't even understand what they're reading when they read the book. This book is really for the Israelites. The Roman Catholic Christians like to run to the book of Galatians, not understanding the book of Galatians. Let's go to Galatians chapter 3 and verse 10. Galatians 3 and verse 10. It says, for as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse. For it is written, cursed is everyone that continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. So with this verse right here, Christians say, see, you can't do all the laws. It's impossible. But this is not talking about all the laws. This is talking about one particular set of laws. The Most High's section are 5 sets of laws. We have ceremonial laws, which is where we have our feast days and so forth. The second one we have is dietary laws. These are foods that are considered clean to eat, that helps our body digest things the correct way, right? Cleanly foods. The next one we have is judgment laws. These are laws when we break them. If we have run out of mercy, if we have run out of grace, then the Most High brings judgment on us. The next one is moral laws, civil laws, on how we treat one another. Very important. So these laws have not been done away with. These 4. People are still getting judged for not doing what's right, pertaining to the moral laws, dietary laws, and the ceremonial laws. People are still getting judged for not doing any of those things. To this day. Now, the ones that Hamashiach is talking about in this particular verse is sacrifices. That's the 5th one. With sacrifices come many things. It's not just, you hear the word sacrifice and you think that's it. Many things come with sacrifice. That's why when you read this verse, Galatians 3 and 10, for as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse, for it is written, curse is everyone that continueth not in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them. So we got to keep all the other laws, but the law of sacrifice is done away with. Look at verse 13. It reads, Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us. For it is written, curse is everyone that hangeth on a tree. If you hung on a tree, what happened to the ground? If you hung overnight, if someone hung, like during the time of slavery, they were hanging us on trees. They would leave us on the tree all night. And what did that do to the ground according to the law, a man cannot hang on a tree all night, or the ground is cursed. All the ground is cursed. Right? So Hamashiach knew in order to make that ground pure again, you had to do a what? You had to do a sacrifice for it. You had to do a sacrifice to the Father, asking for mercy on that land. That's gone. The sacrifices are gone. All right, so now let's look up more information concerning this curse regarding the sacrifices, which at one time was a blessing, all right, because we had Levitical priests who did these services. So let's go to Leviticus chapter 7. Before we get into the blessings and the curses, you need to understand this part, because by understanding this part, you're going to understand why we have grace, why we have mercy. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 34. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 34. So it reads, "For the wave breast and the heave shoulder have I taken of the children of Israel from off their sacrifices." These were, when it says breast, it's talking about an animal's breast. When it talks about the heave shoulder, which is the biggest part of a cattle or cow or ox, taken of the children of Israel from off the sacrifices of their peace offerings, and have given them unto Aaron the priest and unto his sons by a statute forever from among the children of Israel. This is something that the Levites used to do for us when we broke a law. Verse 35. This is the portion of the anointing of Aaron, who was a Levite priest, and of the anointing of his sons, who are also priests, out of the offerings of the Most High made by fire sacrifices, in the day when he presented them to minister unto the Most High in the priest office. The priests did the sacrifices. Verse 36, which the Most High commanded to be given them of the children of Israel in the day that he anointed them by a statute forever throughout their generations. This is something the children of Israel had to do when they broke a law, go to the priest office. Hey, I broke a law, I need to do a sacrifice. Leviticus chapter 7, verse 37. This is the law of burnt offering, of the meat offering, of the sin offering, and of the trespass offering, and of the consecrations, and of the sacrifice of the peace offering. All of these are sacrifices. There's a lot of things under the law of sacrifice. And once upon a time, it did deal with the ceremonials, but no longer does it deal with that. So on our ceremonies, we don't have to do sacrifices no more. Leviticus 7 and 38, which the Most High commanded Moses at Mount Sinai in the day that he commanded the children of Israel to offer their oblations unto the Most High in the wilderness of Sinai. So this is what Galatians chapter 3, verse 10 was talking about. This was the curse of the law that stuck with us until Hamashiach came back on the earth. We could not be forgiven of sins. The 10 tribes who left Israel, because they were the first to leave that land, this is why the remaining Israelites, the tribes, which were Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they were remaining out of the 12 that stayed. This is why they looked down on the 10 tribes, or 9.5 tribes that left, because they knew they couldn't get back to be sacrificed anymore. They couldn't be forgiven of their sins. So they thought they were more special than the rest of the tribes who were scattered. And this is why they wouldn't let them come back. So this is what Hamashiach came to do away with so they could get back. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 13. All this has to do with the blessings and the curses. And let's drop down to verse 10. It reads, we have an altar whereof they have no right to eat, which serve the tabernacle, for the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest of sin, the priest office, are burned without the camp. Wherefore, Hamashiach Yahushua also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. Verse 14. 13. Let us go forth, therefore, unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. For here have we no continuing city. This is what the 10 tribes said. We don't have a place to go. Then Judah, Benjamin, and Levi went into captivity and were scattered. They didn't have a city to go. Where's that city? Jerusalem. None of us had a city to go to. So how could we do our sacrifices and we've been kicked out of the holy city? But here have we no continuing city, but we seek one to come. Who is that one to come? Hamashiach. Right? So we are scattered to the four corners of the earth. That is why we have no longer a continuing city like Jerusalem. That is overrun now. It's overrun now by who? By the Gentiles, the synagogue of Satan. That started during the prophecy of Yahawadah. And let's go to the book of Luke. Let me show you where this started. Leviticus 21, verse 20. This is a prophecy when Yahawadah came, who the world calls Jesus ignorantly. When he came, he told the 12 disciples this, Luke 21 and 20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. What armies? The Roman armies. Then let them which are Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So this came to pass. We're seeing it. We can see it today. When we look over to Jerusalem, we know those aren't the people. Verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. We can stop right there. Let's jump to 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into what? How do we get to the Americas? Slave ships. Be led away captive into all nations. The Native Americans got destroyed here. Every nation around the world got destroyed by these Gentiles. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. That's the most important city in the whole world, Jerusalem. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of who? Of the Gentiles. Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Has it been fulfilled yet? Let's look at more prophecy. Let's look at the mirror. The Bible's a mirror about today, right? People call it a genie. It's not a genie. It's the Most High Scriptures. Revelation chapter 11. And let's read, let's start at verse 1. Now, revelation means the revealing of the words of Yahawadah for the future, right? The whole book of Revelations, it's a riddle. So Revelation chapter 11, verse 1, it says, and there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple of the Most High and the altar and them that worship therein. The angels are always measuring the times. Just like today, they're measuring this country. They're measuring the sins. They're seeing how high they go. They're seeing how wide they go. Just like with Nimrod, they measured it up into the heavens. They measured the sin. So everything is always being measured when it comes to sin, the wickedness of people. The saints are being measured. It's always a measurement. Revelation 11 and 2. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. Outside of that temple, the Gentiles can't go in. They're not going to have the bodies to enter into that temple. Their bodies are not going to be made celestial like ours. They pass through any entrance, they're going to die. All right? So Revelation 11, verse 2. But the court which is without the temple leave out. Measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. In the holy city shall they tread under the foot 42 months. And I will give power unto my two witnesses. Who are the two witnesses? It's another riddle. The two witnesses, you can go to Ezekiel 37. We ain't got to go there. But Ezekiel 37, verse 18 on down, talks about the two kingdoms, which is the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Ephraim, which makes up the whole house of the 12 tribes of Israel. And these people are scattered to the four corners of the earth, of Negro and Native American Indian descent. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the Most High of the earth. This is us. All right, we are the 12 tribes of Israel. So keep that in mind that the Gentiles, just like Yahawashi said, they're already in that land. They've already overrun the land. All right, so let's go back to Hebrews, and let's go to Hebrews chapter 13 where we were, and let's go to verse 14. And so understand about Yahawashi coming back. Here's the reason why we're able to receive grace through the Most High. And we're imputed for righteousness just for believing and keeping the law. You cannot keep the law completely 100% and be considered righteous. You have to have the testimony of Hamashiach Yahushua as well. There's no way to be considered righteous just by keeping the law, but we have to keep the law. There's no way around it. You still got to keep it. All right? Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 14. Hebrews 13 and 14. It reads, "For here have we no continuing city." Now you understand what that's talking about. Jerusalem is overran by the Gentiles. "But we seek one to come." That's the one coming from the heavens. Hebrews 13 and 15. "By him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise." What is the new sacrifice? Giving him praise. Not animals, not killing bulls and goats, but giving them praise. It says, "By him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to the Most High continually. That is, the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name." Now, when we were reading Revelation chapter 11, it says that these 2 candlesticks are going to prophesy for 350 years. Right? We're prophesying with our lips, just like this. That is we're sacrificing to the Father now. Verse 16. "But to do good and to communicate, forget not. For with such sacrifices, the Most High is well pleased." So communication, good communication is our sacrifice now. All right? Keep that in mind. Now, how do we break this curse of Deuteronomy 28? How does it start? We start by a treatment. We got to have a treatment, right? When a person goes to a doctor, and that doctor says, "Okay, we found sentiments of cancer in your x-rays, or we found lymphoma, or some sort of immune disorder." How does the doctor approach the problem? They approach the problem with treatment, medical treatment. The medical treatment is a remedy to treat the disease. So you cannot deviate, or the treatment will fail. If you make a mistake during the treatment, then you got to just get up and do it again. You got to start right over again quickly. It's the only way to combat the disease. But if you fall off your wagon and don't go back, what's going to happen to the disease? It's going to progress. This is the treatment. Deuteronomy 28 is showing us the diseases, and it's showing us the treatment. Okay? Before we go there, let's go to John chapter 5. John, the Gospel of John chapter 5. And let's go to verse 7. Look at the treatment. Look how Yahawashi gives this man the treatment. He don't heal him completely, right? It's a form of treatment. It's a road that we're on to salvation. Okay? If you fall off that path and you don't get up and get right back on it, what happens? You're not going to make it. You're not going to be saved. John chapter 5, verse 7. The impotent man answered him, "Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool, but while I am coming, another steppeth down before me." If you read up a little bit, it talks about how this man is disabled. John chapter 5, verse 8. Yahawashi saith unto him, "Rise, take up thy bed, and walk." And immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. and on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. On the Sabbath day, it is good to do charity. It is good to communicate. It is good to heal on the Sabbath day. That is a work. John chapter 5, verse 11. He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up thy bed and walk. Then asked they him, What man is that which said unto thee, Take up thy bed and walk? And he that was healed was not who it was, for Yahushua has conveyed himself away, and multitude being in that place. Afterward Yahushua findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Check out the treatment. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto you. So what did Yahushua tell him? Yeah, you might be healed right now, but if you keep messing up, that crippleness is going to come back to you, or someone is going to take you out. So we have to accept this treatment that's been given to us and stay on that path. We cannot deviate off that treatment, or things will get worse for us. This is what Yahushua was teaching. So the curses that the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel have, are the same type of diseases, which we are all in need of this treatment. Yahushua, you got to look at him like this. He's the physician. Luke in the Bible, of the disciples, he was a physician, but who was the true physician? It was Hamashiach Yahushua, right? Who is the one giving he's the one giving the therapeutic measures, such as exercise, dietary management, which is Leviticus chapter 11. He's given us the drugs that we need. What are the drugs? The Bible is filled with therapeutic medicine, such as mint, things like cinnamon. You got frankincense. You got aloes. You got myrrh. You got olive oil. You got figs. Yahushua ate a lot of fish. He fed the fish to everyone. Lamb, they ate that on the ceremony. They didn't eat it every day. They ate lamb only on certain circumstances. They used anise. They used a lot of meditation and prayer. You got to look at all of this stuff. They raisins. King David had a bag full of raisins. The Israelites, when they left Egypt, they wanted cucumbers. They wanted the watermelon. They used hyssop. They used cumin. All of these are drugs that help us, not what we see in the pharmaceutical lands. Actually, a lot of the pharmaceuticals have these things in it, a percentage of it in their pharmaceuticals, right? But you want to use what the Bible tells us to use. Unless you are under a doctor, then you need to follow the treatment that he asks you to follow. But Yahushua is our true physician. Another thing he helped us with is a lot of us go through surgery. What's the surgery in the Bible? Fasting, praying, right? Separation. You have to separate from certain people to be healed. He tells us in the book of Psalms, singing, writing poetry to the Father, praise, giving the Father praise. This form of surgery. Another thing, what's another thing he gave us? He gave us psychotherapy. People say, what's psychotherapy? What we're doing today, we're talking on the Sabbath day. That is a form of psychotherapy. Talking. Through the week, we're talking with brothers and sisters to help one another. Believe it or not, we're helping each other with mental illnesses. Some of us have mental illnesses that need this communication. Emotional difficulties, a lot of us have that problem. We're going through certain things. This is what the scriptures is for. This is why brothers and sisters are here. Our job is to be here to help brothers and sisters eliminate or control these troubling symptoms through the help of the scriptures. So a person can function better and increase their healing. All of this is healing medicine. That's what he says in the book of Isaiah. When we leave the law, statutes, commandments, we have left our healing medicine. So he says the whole head is sick. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Let's look at some other things in the scripture. So this is the fall of all the Israelites. This is what we all do. We all fail at doing what was given to us as far as the commandments. We have to work on this thing. The Most High gave us the commandments for health reasons, right? To continue to have life. Let's go to Deuteronomy 29. Some of us think we're healthy, but we're not healthy. Like, for example, brothers in other religions. They think they're healthy. They think they're doing everything right. They think they're walking in the truth, and they're not. Deuteronomy chapter 29, and let's go to verse 16. The signs are all over the place. You know, people now don't want to call themselves African Americans. Native Indians don't want to call themselves Native Indians anymore. They would call themselves Native Americans. Right? We keep changing our names, but we are not taking the right name. Dominicans think that they're Edomites. I'm not black. It's Dominicans. Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 16. Deuteronomy 29 and verse 16. Someone in the world who's claiming to follow Hamashiach talk just like this. Deuteronomy 29 verse 16. For you know how we have dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the nations which ye passed by. And ye have seen their abominations, and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turneth away this day from the Most High our power, to go and serve the gods of these nations. Our people are stuck in all these different belief systems in America and other countries. Lest there should be among you a root. What is that root? That root is somebody who's firm in their belief. They don't want to change. That bear gall. What is gall? Venom. And wormwood. What is wormwood? Bitterness. So this is one of our people, one of our brothers, one of our sisters who are stuck in the churches or stuck in Islam or Buddhism. They're firm in that belief. They don't want to change. And what they're teaching us is venom. They're slandering us for being in the truth. Verse 19. And it come to pass when he heareth the words of this curse. What curse? Deuteronomy 28 that we're about to go into. When we start telling our people, look, man, we fit the curses. They're like, man, I ain't listening to that. We ain't part of no curse. I'm not an Israelite. First thing they say, I'm not an Israelite. Like Trick Daddy. I'm American.
I'm trying to figure out how Afro get in front of my mother race. I ain't never been to Afro color. I never been to Africa. Afro or Africa. Never been there. I'm not from Africa. I'm born and raised in Goose, Florida. I'm born in Goose, raised in Liberty City in the Poker Bean Project. I ain't never went to Africa. I ain't thinking about going there. And I heard it's a beautiful place. Yeah. And I know it's the motherland. Yes. But not my mother, not her mother, and not her mother's mother. That ain't their land. America, real true land is right here in the U.S. soil.
But he looked just like Bafubu over there in Ghana. He looked more African than anybody, Trick Daddy. You know what I'm saying? And it come to pass when he heareth the words of this curse that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of mine heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. Yeah, he destroyed for lack of knowledge. He think he knows what's right, but he don't know that he's suffering from the illnesses that was put on all our families that came over here in captivity or got destroyed on the land and put into captivity. The Most High will not spare him, but the anger of the Most High and his jealousy shall smite or smote against that man. And all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him. And the Most High shall blot out his name from under heaven. And the Most High shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book of the law. As you can see, one brother was talking to another brother of the tribes of Israel and refused to obey what was being said in Deuteronomy 28. This is what we're dealing with today. Look at Hebrews 2 and 3. This is what happens when you disobey. Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 3. Hebrews 2, verse 3. It reads, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation, which is Hamashiach is coming to redeem us, which at the first began to be spoken by the Most High, and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him. Right? All of us are being confirmed by the blessings and the curses, and that we have one that's coming to redeem us from the sins of the law, which is Hamashiach Yahushua. So that man is more cursed than any of us because he didn't listen to what the scriptures said about the blessings and curses. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1. Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. I want you to pay attention to how this is laid out, and I'm going to show you something real quick. Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass that thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Most High thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Most High thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. You can't argue with that. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Most High thy power. If you do right, you will have good success. Okay? Notice what it says in verse 3. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field, only if you keep the commandments. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, which means life, no diseases, and the fruit of the ground, where you live, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket, and thy store. Blessed shall thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shall thou be when thou goest out. I've witnessed this. The curse is flipped when you go in that place and everybody look at you like you got some problem because you're the only person in there that's Jake, right? But we all experience this. If you go back to verse 5, it says, blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. What is that talking about? Your bank account. If you do right, the Most High will bless your bank account. If you keep the Sabbath day and honor it, the Most High won't let nothing happen to your account on the Sabbath day and the rest of the week. He will add to it. Verse 7, the Most High shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. No weapon shall prosper against you if you do the commandments. The Most High shall command the blessings upon thee in thy storehouses and all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee. Wherever you go, you can move from America. You can go to Africa. You can move to China. Wherever you go, if you're keeping the commandments, the Most High will bless you. Doesn't matter where you go. Even though we're still under the curse as a whole nation, and the leaders set up in the world are based on us all falling, it's not their time to go yet. As long as you keep the commandments to the best of your ability, the Most High will show you no judgment on you. Verse 9, because the judgment law is still here. The Most High shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments in the Most High thy power and walk in his ways. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. Now, he just talked about the blessings, right? Notice it's not too much different from the Sermon on the Mount with Hamashiach. Matthew 5 and 1. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, just like we read in Deuteronomy. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Keep the commandments, and you shall inherit the earth, Israelites. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see the Most High. See this? All of these are blessings. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of the Most High. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, because we're still living in this evil world, and we're doing righteousness. By us doing righteousness, some people are not going to like us, and Satan will also tempt the righteous. Remember that, like he did Job, Satan is here in this time, and he will tempt you just because you're doing right. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. So the blessings are listed in Deuteronomy 28, but because of the cursings are so great on the earth, when you read Matthew chapter 5, those of us that are keeping the commandments are going to be persecuted for keeping the commandments, because the umbrella of the world is evil, and we're under this umbrella keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. So they don't like us. Let's go back to the Deuteronomy. Let's jump down to verse 14. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 14. And it reads, And thou shalt not go aside from any of thy words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods, to serve them. So he's saying, keep the law, statutes, commandments. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 5, and let's go to verse 17. Let's see if this sounds the same way. Matthew 5 and 17. Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I have not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one iota or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law. What are these scriptures talking about that it was done away with? The earth is still here. The heavens are still here. Therefore, the law of the Most High is still here. Till all be fulfilled. He has not returned yet, Yahawadah. When he returns, then it's been fulfilled. Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. What is the least commandment? The Sabbath day.
Do not
Honoring false God. These are least commandments. The 10 commandments, those are the least of the commandments that he gave us. You cannot teach against that. You have to honor every one of those. People are going to church on Sunday instead of the Sabbath day, which is Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. That's one of the least commandments. So they're going to be considered least in the kingdom of the Most High. So we have to capitalize on that. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. See that? So you have to surpass the Pharisees and Sadducees. So what are these people talking about? You ain't got to keep no laws. Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. Now, this is when you don't keep the law. So Yahawadah talked about the blessings. Now he's talking about those who don't keep the commandments, just like Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Most High thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these, what? Curses shall come upon you and overtake you. So those who are teaching the least of the commandments, what's happening to them? Curses are coming upon them. Right? And that's all over this world. Everyone is teaching the least of the commandments. Verse 16, curse shall thou be in the city, and curse shall thou be in the field.
Platt.
Yes, mistress.
Can you find your way to Bartholomew's?
I can, ma'am.
This is a list of goods and sundries. You will take it to be filled and return immediately. Take your tag. Tell Bartholomew to add it to our debt.
Yes, mistress.
Come here, boy. Come on. Where you going, boy?
On my way to Bartholomew's. Sent by Mistress Epps.
You best get there, then. Get there quick.
And tobacco, 2 ounces. Foolscap paper.
Any trouble?
No, ma'am. No trouble.
Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Verse 18, it says, cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. And you wonder why we have fast foods in our neighborhoods, and our bodies are cursed. We're eating food that tastes like cardboard. The food don't have any nutrients in it. You do better cooking your own food at home. Why it says, cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind. We got trash all on the streets. Ain't nobody coming to pick it up. People's just steadily throwing stuff out the window, or when they come out the store, they just take the wrapper, just throw it on the ground. Verse 19, cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. They ain't trying to give you no loans. They don't care how good your credit is.
Andre, welcome. Good to have you with us. Maybe I'm the only person in the country who did not know this. I did not know, and I am surprised that lenders are allowed to ask your race as part of the application process. Why are they allowed to?
Well, one, we do need to have that information to know if we're actually lending to Black, brown, and indigenous folks. So there is a data collection need, but unfortunately, we still see that data being used to punish Black buyers and sellers in many cases. And so, yeah, we want to see a sort of a colorblind approach, but we also know that if we don't collect the data, we won't have the information to remedy the situation.
But let me push a little bit here, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Why couldn't you collect that information after the mortgage application has either been approved or declined, so that it isn't known up front and therefore can't get into in any way the decision-making process?
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly possible, but you still want a lot of information because there's a lot of things that occur in the front end that you want to address. and because many people fall out of the process. And so, but I agree with you, we need a better process overall to eliminate the bias. But again, it's hard to eliminate bias, even in the cases of more AI or technological applications, bias in, bias out. So if you have programmers who share the same kind of biases as current lenders, you're going to see the same kind of dynamics. So in some respects, it doesn't matter if you're asking a question or not. There are so many ways to get a glimpse of a person's rate in the application process that shows up. That the Homeowners Loan Corporation, the federally backed Homeowners Loan Corporation in the 30s, redlined black neighborhoods and not allowing them to refinance loans and get low interest loans to develop communities to then pass on that wealth. And so many black Americans simply do not have wealth. And when you do not have wealth, you take on more debt. So there is that issue. But we should have policies that address that very fact, that we know that policy violence leveled against black, brown.
The Most High shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, all based on your skin complexion or based on your hair texture. In all that thou settest thine hand unto, for it to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. But all this is coming from the Most High. The Most High shall make the pestilence cleave unto you, talking about diseases, until we have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. Right? They had the measles. We had, when they came over here from Europe, they brought all these different diseases over into this country. They brought it into Africa. We was ridden with problems. Verse 22. The Most High shall smite thee with a consumption. He's making sure that you know where this is coming from. It's coming from him. And with a fever, and with inflammation, and with extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting. The sword is the gun, it's the pen when they're passing these laws. And with blasting.
The history, slavery, and the slave trade, ancient and modern. The forms of slavery that prevailed in ancient nations, particularly in Greece and Rome, the African slave trade, and the political history of slavery in the United States. This was written about by H. Miller, is the author, and this was written in 1862. We're going to jump over to page 96, and let's start at the top. America was discovered in 1492. The part of this new world which was first colonized by the Spaniards consisted of those islands scattered through the great gap of ocean between North and South America, which, as they were thought to be the outermost individuals of the great Eastern Indies, to which it was the main object of Columbus to effect a western passage, were called the West Indies. When the Spaniards took possession of these islands, they employed the natives, or Indians as they were called, to do all the heavy kinds of labor for them, says they employed, right? Such as carrying burdens, digging for gold, etc. In fact, these Indians became slaves. So what happened to the Indians? They became slaves of their Spaniard or Spanish conquerors. And it was customary in assigning lands to a person to give him at the same time all the Indians upon them. So they were taking the Indians' lands and using them as slaves. All right, let's drop down. It says, they are described as the most listless, improvident people on the face of the earth. And though capable of much passive endurance, drooped and lost all heart whenever they were put to active labor, ill usage, and the smallpox together carried them off in thousands. And wherever a Spaniard trod, he cleared a space before him, as if he carried a blasting influence in his person. You see, I have here Deuteronomy 28:22. That's the blasting. Wherever these Spaniards went, they killed thousands of Indians, thousands of Negroes, thousands of native indigenous people. That's the blasting influence that the scriptures refer to.
Well, Senator Crane has come here to offer your people a better way of life.
Better than what?
Better than what you have.
I like what I have.
I understand that. But your people live in the Stone Age. We live at the beginning of a great industrial revolution.
He doesn't understand Chief, the United States government is offering you a piece of land of your own.
We have our own land.
No, it's not yours. It's the U.S. government's.
Did they buy it?
No.
Did they trade for it?
It's not like that.
Then how can they own it?
He has a point. If you accept our offer, you won't have to hunt buffalo anymore or roam the prairie. You can depend on your country to take care of you.
You are not my country.
We will give you everything you need if you will just submit to living on a reservation.
We need nothing from you.
And with mildew, and they shall pursue thee unto thou perish. If you look at Medical Apartheid, it was a book, I forget who it was written by. She did a study on the projects, and all the projects had mildew in their paint and in their buildings. And people were catching diseases from the mildew over the years. And by the time they figured it out, they started giving people vouchers to move, and then they just bulldozed all the buildings so nobody could come behind them and file lawsuits. The book is called Medical Apartheid. Verse 23, and the heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. What is this talking about? Let's go back to Matthew chapter 5. Let's find out what this is talking about. Matthew chapter 5, verse 21. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you that whomsoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, meaning the courthouse, and there rememberest that thy brother have aught against thee, leave their gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. In other words, the Most High ain't hearing your prayer until you reconcile something. That's why when we go back to Deuteronomy 28, when he's talking about verse 23, Deuteronomy 28 and 23 says, and the heaven that is over thy head shall be brass. That's jail. That's prison. And the earth that is under thee shall be iron. They got concrete with iron in it. You can't dig your way out. Rebar. Verse 24, the Most High shall make thee rain of the land powder and dust. That's chemtrails. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. What's in chemtrails? All types of stuff to weaken your immune system, chemicals and so forth. They're spraying plants, they're spraying the bugs, and here you are catching the same stuff on top of your head. Verse 25, the Most High shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee several ways. You ever see brothers standing on the block and the police pull up? One police car show up. You got 10 brothers on the block. As soon as the police car pull up, they all scatter. Take off. And shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Now, this is also talking about slavery. This happened when we were in Africa, when we were in the Americas, the conquistadors, when they came down, you know, the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, when they came down to get us, we was fleeing all types of ways because of slavery. And we were scattered to all the kingdoms of the earth because of slavery. Verse 26, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. People say, well, when did this happen? Yeah, when we left Jerusalem in 70 AD, we was fleeing through the wilderness. Some of us died. What happened if we wasn't buried? The buzzards came and got us. Verse 27, the Most High will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the hemorrhoids, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. The Most High shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Now, this is going on today. Our people are mad. Our people are blind. Let's go to Romans 11 and 25. I mean, this is the remedy for our being today. Romans 11 and 25. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceit. What mystery? That we are the 12 tribes of Israel. That blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. So now we're seeing two things in this verse. We're seeing that Israel's lost. They don't know who they are, right? They're lost in their own conceits, just like that brother we read in Deuteronomy 29. In the imagination of his heart, he thought he was good. But we're all waiting to see that fullness of the Gentiles be come in. We read about that in Revelation chapter 11, that the Gentiles are in that land. The war is going on today. That has to happen for the Gentiles to get ran out. All those are Gentiles, just not the ones that we call Esau, but also Ishmael too. They got to be ran out of there too. That's why that bomb is going on. They're making a way for us to go back home. That's what's going on now. And the Most High is in charge of that. So Ishmael's getting destroyed because the Most High want them out. The next one to get destroyed is going to be Esau. He's going to get destroyed too. So we're just sitting back watching. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Where is we at? Let's go to verse 29. Deuteronomy 28, verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
Come on, Luke. Let's burn down this damn bomb. Here we go. What do you think happened to the brothers and sisters we leave behind if we burn these horses? I tell you, God works in his own time. I'm played out, waiting on your God's time.
And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. This is for our people who don't have no hope. They don't know who the hope is. A lot of them don't even know that Yahawadah was a black man. They still looking at Edomite Caesar Borgia on their walls at home. Some of them got them over their beds, thinking that's Christ. And he can't save them. Verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and this only happens when you're not keeping the laws. Job talks about that in the book of Job, chapter 31. He says, if I kneel to another woman, then another man's going to kneel to my wife. It's just the way it goes. It's a jigsaw puzzle. So the Most High is telling us to be obedient to one another. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather thy grapes thereof. Now, some of us have vineyards. If you're keeping the commandments, the Most High will honor that.
All right. Lord, let Sunday hurry up. Amen.
Oh, don't touch it. Leave it alone, man. Pepper.
Coach, that's right.
Where's Johnny?
Everybody pulls his weight on this plantation.
Hell, ain't you no man?
Can't you see she near her time? Time is cotton picking time. Now move your ass, black boy. I'll move hers.
Please, leave me alone. You help me. You make it twice as hard for me. Take Master's cotton. Force itself in me for his pleasure. Make him kill. Peace, Lord. Take me to your bosom, Jesus. End this misery.
Verse 31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes. That happened during slavery days. That happened with Malcolm X. Father. We saw that on Roots. We saw that on Rosewood. And thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from thee before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue you. For some of us, that's the only money that we have in our livestock. Verse 32. This one is critical. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. We saw this with Kizzy and Kunta Kinte on Roots. Our people was given to another people. It's the other movie, 12 Years as a Slave. We saw it on there. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. We got CPS. They do the same thing. They take our children and give it to someone else when we can't care for them. And thine eye shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. This happened to our land in Africa. Happened to our land in America. The Native Americans are on reservations now. We were put on plantations. Verse 34, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. The Most High shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with the sore botch that cannot be healed. If I told you how many brothers I know that got bad knees, I mean, Mike Tyson, I was watching that fight, he almost tripped coming out to the fight. Bad feet, bad knees. If he was going to lose that fight, he's going to lose it to himself, tripping on his own feet. But it says, the Most High shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Most High shall bring thee, and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there thou shalt serve other powers, wood and stone. And this is our people serving wood and stone. How are we serving wood and stone? Some of us don't see it for the minuteness that what it is. But let's go to Matthew 24. Let me show you how minute this thing is. Serving other gods. Don't necessarily have to be in the shape of a man or of a cross or of a cobblestone. It could be in the shape of this. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24, verse 1. And Yahushua went out and departed from the temple. And his disciple came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So Yahushua is saying that this temple was not built with earthen vessels, meaning stone, wood. In order to build a temple, it had to be done with earthly things. It had to be simple. The Most High don't want something lavish. Let's go to Deuteronomy 27:4. Let me show you. Deuteronomy chapter 27 and verse 4. Therefore it shall be, when ye be gone over Jordan, that ye shall set up these stones, which I command you this day, in Mount Ebal, and thou shalt plaster them with plaster, and there shalt thou build an altar unto the Most High thy power, an altar of stones. Thou shalt not lift up any iron tool upon them. See how simple the Most High wants the stone, not even carved. He wants you to use what's already been created. Thou shalt build the altar of the Most High thy power of whole stones, and thou shalt offer burnt offerings thereon unto the Most High thy power, and thou shalt offer peace offerings, and shalt eat there, and rejoice before the Most High thy power, and thou shalt write upon the stones all the words of this law very plainly. So the law has to be written on the walls of our temples, of our churches. Do you see the laws on our churches when you go into these Christian churches? Do you see all the laws written on these churches? See that? That's how you know they're going off. Right there. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. I mean, that's a cold pill to swallow right there, right? And our king went into captivity with us. We watch, I have to keep saying things like roots, because that's the only way our mind can see the images of our kings going into captivity. Remember the instructor that taught Kunta Kinte how to fight, he got captive. He became a captive. And the kings, everybody got caught up, went into captivity.
From his facial characteristics, his people probably came from the Songhai tribe, the area around Timbuktu. 300 years ago, they had a university there, where the most delicate operations were performed for cataracts of the eye. People came from all over the world to have their sight restored by these extraordinary black surgeons. I believe origins can crop up even after 10 generations, unless they're kept weeded out. What do we create? Surgeons? Sculptors? Or niggers?
From Babylon to Timbuktu, A History of the Ancient Black Races, including the Black Hebrews, by Rudolph R. Windsor. Now, he has a lot of footnotes in this book from white scholars. This particular book was published, the first edition was in 1969 by Rudolph R. Windsor, and you can see all the other publishing dates that this book has been published, meaning there was a high demand for this book. We're going to jump to one of the footnotes because he refers to Dr. Let me put this big ball here. He refers to Dr. Allen H. Godby. This man, Dr. Allen H. Godby, was a Duke professor. He was the president of his department in theology. He was ousted when he had his students take on this curriculum of locating the Negroes who were Jews all throughout the world. And they rebelled against him and started to talk to other professors in the department who eventually had him investigated. But Dr. Allen H. Godby, he wrote the book, The 12 Tribes, a Myth. He was a so-called Caucasian man. Dr. Allen H. Godby postulates the position that black Jews were on the West African coast from Senegal to Angola. And they, the Jews, were driven to this area from the central Sudan by Muslim propagandism. Having a knowledge of the black Jews in the United States, Dr. Godbey arrived at this conclusion. These facts have peculiar significance when the presence of Judaism among American Negroes is to be considered. Hundreds of thousands of slaves were brought to America from the Western Africa during the days of the traffic, meaning the Atlantic slave trade, beginning nearly 400 years ago. How much more of Judaism survived among West African Negroes in that earlier time? Because of persecution, they started to, through generations, forget the customs of being Israelites. As persecuted communities, they were rather more in danger than other Negroes of being raided by war parties and sold as slaves. It may be considered certain that many partially Judaized Negroes were among the slaves brought to America. How many of them might still hold some Israelite customs? Here's another question. This is page 133. The other page is 132. Before Dr. Godbey published his book, The Lost Tribes, A Myth, Rabbi Matthew organized a Hebrew congregation in 1918. Rabbi Matthew was over the commandment keepers. He was a so-called black man who knew that he was an Israelite. Rabbi Matthew organized a Hebrew congregation in 1918 and proclaimed that the black people of the United States and the West Indies are the original black Hebrews. There are hundreds of thousands of black African Hebrews scattered throughout the United States, not only in the urban areas, but also in the rural communities in this nation. With the revelation of ample historical evidence, the authenticity of these black Hebrews can no longer be questioned. However, in regard to the purity of their Judaism, among some of these Jews, that is another issue, because a lot of people have been brainwashed into believing in Christianity and not knowing their true identity, their true nationality of being of one of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Let's go down to verse 37. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, a byword, nigger, spick, black man, African American, Afro men. I mean, we got all types of names. Egyptians, Gypsy, you name it. We got all types of names. Among all nations, whether the Most High shall lead thee, thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shall gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. When you get your paycheck, how many hands got their hands out to get money out your check before you even cash it? All right? That's a form of seed that you carry in. You carry much seed in, and everybody got their hand up to take your check, your money. Verse 39, thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Issachar that be working in the fields, he don't have time to drink the wine or the grapes. He go back home to his family. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit.
Please, help me, help me, help me.
Verse 41, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. How long we been in this country? And look at all the nations that surpassed us. Us and the Native Americans, they've passed right up. East Indians came over here, passed us. The Hamites, they come over here, they pass us up. Moab, Ammon, they come over here, they pass us right up. They get all the services. We get nothing. They live in the best neighborhoods. We live in the worst neighborhoods. We're sprinkled through some of these neighborhoods at the most. But for the most part, the heathens come over here and they surpass us. They talk another language. They don't even talk English well, and they surpass us. All right. Let's go to verse 42. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high. You got Ishmael in the liquor stores on the street corners selling to our people. And thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to them. We got cash checking stores, predatory loans, the loan sharks, all in our neighborhood. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Most High thy power. To do what again? To keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee this day. And they shall be upon thee for a what? For a sign, for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Why don't Creflo Dollar have the laws all on the church walls? Why is it looking so glamorous? All right. Verse 47, because thou servest not the Most High thy power with joyfulness, that's why, and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High shall send against you in what? In hunger, in thirst. We got Dasani water. We got Crystal Geyser water. We don't own none of these. And in nakedness, and in want of all things. Everything that we want, our enemies have it. You run outside your house or your apartment and you go to the store, your enemies own the stores. They're on the gas stations. You don't see you working or owning anything. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. We have been destroyed since captivity. When they took the yoke of irons off our neck, the yoke of iron mentally is still on our neck. Verse 49, the Most High shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth. This is Esau when he put us in captivity. As swift as the eagle. His mascot is the eagle. Rome uses the eagle. European Union uses the eagle. America uses the eagle. Russia uses the eagle. They all have the same mascot. It says, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle fleeth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. This is not our native language that we're speaking, English. It's a bastard tongue. Verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance.
I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name?
Kunta.
Lord God, help that boy. They're gonna whoop him dead.
What's your name? Say it. Toby. Who are you? Say your name. What's your name?
Toby.
Which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. I don't know if y'all know the history of boxing. If you look at Jack Johnson, you look at Lewis, you look at all the black boxers who fought in this country, they all had to fight when they were old men, some young white boy. The same thing happened again yesterday. Nobody even knew the history of it. They always fight our champions when they're old and decrepit. They send that white hero, the young white hero, right, to knock us out in our old age. I don't know if y'all know that or not. That's what they do. Look at the history of it. Jack Johnson is what I meant to say. Jack Johnson had to fight 3 white boys when he was in his 60s. They don't respect the old brothers that's accomplished a lot in their younger days. They like to still make us fall. This is something they do. Pay attention. Verse 51, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thine kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. When it says that, think about all the brothers who are in cities now. Do you know that we all came from a place where we had land, we had cattle, we had sheep? Most of us had these little small things before we got to the cities. Our forefathers, our great-great-grandfathers. Verse 52, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou travailest throughout all thy land. He shall besiege thee in thy gates throughout all the land which the Most High thy power hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters. I mean, this part right here, you really have to think through this part right here. How are you eating the flesh of your own, the flesh of your sons, the flesh of your daughters? How are you doing this? Think about the prison system. You know how many of these companies that you shop at feed off the prison systems, which the Most High thy power hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother. You brothers ever walk down the street and see another brother and you say, "What's up, man?" And he looked at you like you didn't say nothing? That tenderness of the brotherhood is gone.
Who this nigga on that nag?
Hey, Snowball. You want to know my name or the name of my horse? You ask me.
That's who the hell you calling Snowball, horse boy? I'll snatch your black ass off that nag down here in the mud so fast make your head
Steven. Let's keep it funny. Django here is a freeman.
This nigga here?
That nigga there. Let me at least introduce the two of you. Django, this is another cheeky black bugger like yourself, Steven. Steven, this here's Django. You two ought to hate each other.
Verse 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, and toward his wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall lead, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. Now this happened during 70 AD, when the Romans came against us, and we were sent to Masada. Our women and our men were eating the leather off their shoes, eating the leather off their belts, and then when they ran out of that, because they had them caged in like animals, the Romans wouldn't let them come out to get water or food. So then they started to bargain over the children. Our families started eating the children, the babies. I'll eat a leg today, we'll eat his arms tomorrow. That was going on during the time of 70 AD. This also happened during the time of cannibalism. Some of us went into cannibalism in Africa and America. Verse 56, I mean, this stuff happens over and over. It's not just one incident. Verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not have ventured to set thy sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil towards her husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter.
I sent my little girl to freedom. I drowned her in that swamp out there. When I was sold to McKay, he wouldn't buy my husband with me. I was 17, 2 months before my time. She was a beautiful baby. I drowned her with my own 2 hands.
It says here, I'll read again, and towards her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and towards her children, which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the siege and straits, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gate.
But this, now you understand that if you get married, we might drop Mrs. Price from the program, but this will be determined after your financial status has been computed by us. It has nothing to do with aid to the children. You understand?
Now, if you will sign this statement, it shows your income and your expenses, Mr. Marshall, and get it back to me within 2 weeks. You understand?
Yes, I understand all that, but listen, I gotta ask you something because I gotta think about this thing. What happens if I lose my job?
If you're married, you must apply for welfare.
Oh, I must apply for welfare?
You must apply for welfare. Otherwise, this would constitute a misuse of ADC funds.
Which is fraud.
You understand? If the husband's unwilling or unable to make a contribution equal to what it would cost him to maintain an independent living arrangement, he must apply for welfare. Do you understand? Otherwise, this would constitute a misuse of ADC funds.
Which is fraud.
Which is misappropriation.
Which is fraud.
Right, okay, now wait a minute. Now, if I marry this lady, I want to make things better. But if I spend $1 on it, you're going to deduct it from her, right? If I want to buy a little something extra, you're going to deduct it. And I better report every penny I spend, or else I'm a crook. Okay, now you say if I lose my job, I must apply for welfare because I can't just sit around eating the government's biscuit.
Which is fraud.
That's a fraud, right? Okay, now, if I do go into welfare, then I'm just another lazy-ass nigger that's living off taxpayer. All right, now, suppose I do not marry this lady. Now, if I move in with her and do not tell you, then we're both crooks, right? But if I do tell you, then we're back to the income and the outcome and the deducting, and you drive me to drink. And you call a fraud if I spend $7 for a bottle of whiskey.
Verse 58, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law, there it is again, that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name, Yahweh thy power. Then the Most High will make thy plagues wonderful. What is making plagues wonderful? It's getting a disease and can't get rid of it. Magic Johnson got AIDS. It might be not detectable, but he still got it. The stuff don't go away. That's why the Most High said, I will make it wonderful. So, these type of things are the curses that the Most High set against our people who are not doing right, who are not keeping the law, statutes, commandments. He's created a solution for the problem. Then the Most High will make thy plagues wonderful in the plagues of thy seed. Remember what he said in the commandments that we read earlier? That the plague will go into the 4th generation of them that hate me. So if you are doing something that your father did that was wrong, and you doing something that your grandfather did was wrong, it's going to stick to you like glue. That's what they say, oh, this is hereditary. You got this because your father had it. This is a family thing. This is a family heredity problem. Verse 59, then the Most High will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. You put that in there twice. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt. A good one of Egypt, they call it a rich man's disease, which is gout. A lot of our black men have gout. And they call it a rich man disease because the Egyptian pharaohs would eat a lot of cakes. And who made the cakes? Who was working in the bakeries? It was us. So we had to taste everything. So a lot of people in Egypt had the gout disease, where their feet would swell, or a limb would swell, the knees would swell, and it's painful. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of. High blood pressure came from Egypt, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of the law, cancer and tumors, and nobody know about this stuff, them will the Most High bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, wherein ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Most High thy power. Verse 63, and it shall come to pass that as the Most High rejoice over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Most High will rejoice over you to destroy you. The Most High is rejoicing, destroying our people. Especially during the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, he was rejoicing over killing us. A lot of us died. And he says, and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Crips and Bloods came about because the Most High rejoiced over us to do us bad. Verse 64, and the Most High shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth, even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
The history, slavery, and the slave trade, ancient and modern. The forms of slavery that prevailed in ancient nations, particularly in Greece and Rome, the African slave trade, and the political history of slavery in the United States. Negro Land, this is the same book that I brought out earlier. This is chapter 7, Negro Land, or Negrita, is that part of the interior of Africa, stretching from the Great Desert on the north to the certain commencement of Caffrey Land on the south, and from the Atlantic on the west to Abyssinia on the east. In fact, the entire interior of this great continent may be called the land of the Negroes, talking about Africa, West and North Africa, some parts of South Africa. The ancients distinguished it from the comparatively civilized countries lying along the coast of the Mediterranean and the Red Sea by calling the latter Libya and the former Ethiopia. It is upon Ethiopia in an especial manner that the curse of slavery has fallen. At first, it bore but a share of the burden. Britons and Scythians, these are Negroes coming from the European lands, Britons and Scythians, were the fellow slaves of the Ethiopians, Africa. But at last, all the other nations of the earth seemed to conspire against the Negroes, or the Negro race, agreeing never to enslave each other, never enslaving Europeans, but to make the blacks the slaves of all alike. Thus, this race of human beings has been singled out, whether owing to the accident of color or to their peculiar fitness for certain kinds of labor, for infamy and misfortune, and the abolition of the practice of promiscuous slavery in the modern world was purchased by the introduction of a slavery confined entirely to what? To Negroes. So you had Negroes who went into captivity after the Native Americans had already been sought out, put to labor, and killed off. The Negroes were next. The nations and tribes of Negroes in Africa, who thus ultimately became the universal prey of what? Europeans. Were themselves, or Edomites, were themselves equally guilty in subjecting men to perpetual bondage. What do the apologetics have to say about that? What do the Jehovah Witnesses have to say about this? Right? This is what we are undergoing, the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And no man can change that except for the Israelites and Christ. This is a book called The Hope of Israel by Manasseh ben Israel, English translation by Moses Wall in 1652. It was first published by Oxford University in 1987. Israel, page 112. You can see here, page 113. It reads, I shall speak somewhat in this discourse of the divers opinions which have been, and shall declare in what countries it is thought the 10 tribes are. And I shall close after that I have brought them into their own country, which I shall prove by good reasons, following the revelations of the holy prophets, who I believe cannot be expounded otherwise. Whatever some think, so whatever some people believe, it cannot be expounded otherwise. Yet I intend not to dispute these things, but according to my custom, shall lay down fairly and faithfully the opinions of the Jews only. So this was really only for the Jews who were seeking learning. You must know, therefore, that Alexo Venegas, this was an explorer, says that the first colonies of the West Indies were of the Carthaginians, who first of all inhabited Hispaniola, and as they increased, spread to the island of Cuba, from thence to the continent of America, and after that toward Panama, New Spain, and Peru. So the 12 tribes of Israel was split. Those who had the spirit to go forth into Jerusalem went forth into Jerusalem, but the other 10 tribes were scattered abroad. This is 1 Ezra, chapter 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Most High by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Most High stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Most High of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is these among you of all his people? His power be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Most High of Israel. He is the power which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, because 10 tribes and all the other tribes, the 12 tribes, were scattered abroad. Again, it says, let the men of his place help him with silver and with gold and with goods. This was their one chance to get that benefit of some kind of reparation. So they got their money. Everybody didn't go to Jerusalem. This is how they were able to purchase things and lands and go further to different countries. And with beasts, beside the freewill offering for the house of the Most High that is in Jerusalem. Now, this is an important part. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, 2 tribes, and the priests and the Levites, right, a half tribe, with all them whose spirit, I'll say it again, with all those whose spirit the Most High had raised to go up to build the house of the Most High, which is in where? Jerusalem. So some of the 10 tribes went with them too, whose spirit was raised up but not all the 10 tribes. Some were scattered into India, some were scattered into Europe, some into Africa, and some into the Americas, a place where man has never gone before, pursuant to 2 Ezra chapter 13.
Verse 65, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Most High shall give thee there a trembling heart, and felon of eyes, and sorrow of mind, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. And thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would the Most High were evening. And at evening thou shalt say, would the Most High were morning. How many of y'all feel like that? For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again. Egypt means bondage. Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 says that Egypt is bondage. With ships. So we went into bondage again with what? Ships. The Atlantic slave trade. The biggest slave trade in world history. By the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. See what? Jerusalem. We will no longer see Jerusalem again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. For slave men is what bondmen mean, and slave women is what bondwomen mean.
4,000.
I'll pay more, 500 more.
500.
Done. You got a good boy, trustworthy, obedient, whip smart. I sure hate to sell it.
Here we have a capital woman and her 3 children, all in good health. What will you say for them? Give me an offer. I'll put the whole lot up for $850. $850. $850. $850 already. $925.
And no man, meaning your brother, shall buy you. No man shall be able to save you, except for Hamashiach Yahushua. He's the only one that can redeem us without money. All right. Let's go to Revelation chapter 22. And let's go to verse 3. Revelation chapter 22 and verse 3. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of the Most High and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. This is going into Revelation chapter 7. All those who keep the laws of the Most High. Let's go to Isaiah 8 and 16 to show you what the mark is on the foreheads. Somebody may not know. Isaiah chapter 8, verse 16. It reads, Isaiah 8 and 16. Bind up the testimony. Who's that testimony of? Of the Hamashiach. Bind up the testimony seal the law among my disciples. Where is he going to seal that law? In your forehead, in your mind. Seal the law among my disciples. Drop down to verse 20, Isaiah 8 and 20. Isaiah chapter 8, verse 20. To the law and to the testimony of Christ, if they speak not according to this word, remember we're going to communicate this word, and that's going to be what? Our sacrifice. It is because there is no light in them. So if we communicate the law and the prophets and the testimony of Hamashiach, we're going to go back to Revelation 22 and verse 3. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of the Most High and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads, and there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun, for the Lord, the Most High Yahweh, giveth them light, and they shall reign forever and ever. So how are we going to get there? By keeping the law. Keeping the law and the testimony of Hamashiach. Those curses will disappear if we do that. So the remnant is going to supersede in the last days by the communication of Hamashiach Yahushua and keeping of the law, statutes, and
This is the word of the Lord of hosts. I took you from the pastures and from following the sheep to be prince over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone and have destroyed all the enemies in your path. I will make you a great name among the great ones of the earth. I will assign a place for my people in Israel. There I will plant them, and they shall dwell in their own land.